A lot of my viewers know that I made a lot of mistakes when playing Genshin, and some mistakes I still make. So today I'm going to show you guys the mistakes that I made in hopes that you don't make the same one. Number 1, and probably the most common mistakes that people make when they play Genshin, is leveling up too many things at once. When you're at adventure rank 1 through 30 and you're making your way up to 30, you have a lot of Mora. There's a lot of different quests, a lot of different Archon quests and things you can do to get your Mora up, and you're gonna have a lot of it. But just because you have a lot of Mora doesn't exactly mean that you should spend it all. Early on, the game is gonna give you a lot of these bad boys right here. Also, the game is gonna kind of hold your hand for a long time in the beginning stages. So this is gonna become a major problem later on in the game, not so much early. So my mistake was every time I got a new character, I would try to level them up as much as possible. That is not what you want to do. You don't want to just level up anything and everything as soon as you get it, like I did. If I got a new character, I leveled them up as much as possible. If I got a cool new weapon, once again, I would level it up as much as possible. And I would do that no matter what it was. And that left me with literally no resources. So after having some experience in playing Genshin for a long time, you're gonna realize, oh, I need to really figure out what I actually want and what I don't. What's going to be good for me? What can I use? What can my team use? What's going to benefit me the most? And generally speaking, what is actually good? So it really just comes down to what exactly is worth leveling up for you. Number 2, another huge mistake that I made playing this game was constantly jumping to dodge. Now you may be thinking, what's wrong with that? Now jumping isn't necessarily a bad thing to do, but instead of jumping to dodge, there's this trick in the game, in most games I'd say, that's called iframing. Now iframing is something that I had no idea how to do for the longest time. I'd say probably about till AR 40 or so. And basically what it is, if you don't know, it's basically just dodging an attack when it actually would have hit you. So these lasers you see on screen, I just sprint right through them, no problem. I don't take any damage because I'm sprinting at the perfect time. Therefore, they call it iframing. And the crazy thing is, this can work with a lot of different attacks, and most attacks in the game, honestly. There's not really much that can actually stop you from being able to iframe. Now, not to spoil things if you haven't played the game yet, but there are certain bosses that kind of do multiple attacks in one, and it kind of makes it impossible to iframe all of them. But old Julian here would have been constantly jumping and jumping and jumping, trying to dodge all these attacks instead of iframing them or just getting the hell out the way. And since I would keep on jumping away from attacks, I'd be sprinting at the same time, which means all my stamina would be completely depleted and I wouldn't have any stamina in the middle of the fight, causing me to take even more damage because I can barely move. Number 3, using characters the wrong way. Now, I had a really bad habit of doing this. I was always using my characters in the wrong way. Now, characters can be built either way you want. You can build them however you can have fun. Characters can be built however you want them to be built, but there is a general consensus of what this character's role is. And as you play more and more, you're going to learn terms such as DPS, which stands for damage per second. So your damage dealer, who's putting out all the most damage. So your damage dealer, your support character, and your healer. Or, you know, just that one character who can do literally everything, every class in one. Also, not to mention, there are more classes than the ones that I named. There's also sub DPS, applier, or enabler. My mistake was I would actually use Noelle as a DPS. I wouldn't be using her as a shielder or support. I would be using her to attack. I had no sense of which character would be the damage output, which character would be the shielder, which character would be defense. I had zero sense of which character should be doing damage and which character should be supporting the team. Now, to be fair, I didn't have too many characters to begin with at the time, but that doesn't mean that you can't pick certain characters to fill certain roles. I'd be using healers to hold down the fort and attack enemies instead of healing. I'd be using teams like this to go and fight Power Wedge just fine. Now, why? I have no idea. I just thought the characters were fun and cool, and I went to fight the boss, not thinking, oh, this boss is a pyro boss. So all in all, if it's not obvious in the game, it only takes a Google search to really understand, okay, what is the role of this character? How do I use this character? And what is this character going to do for my team? Number 4, level up your talents. Now, I could be wrong here, but I typed in talents in every single tutorial section, and I don't think the game tells you anything about your talents throughout the entire time that you play it. I did not see a single tutorial hint or anything that had to do with leveling up talents in the game. Now, I am an idiot and just didn't read carefully and see that talents are on the character screen until like AR 30 or 40. I was running around with a level 111 Noelle when it came to talents the entire time. There wasn't a single character that I had leveled up talents with. I was like, why am I just dealing no damage? Am I just a low level? I mean, I feel like I should be dealing more than 2 damage. But in all seriousness, the major mistake I made when it came to talents, even after learning about them, is which talents need to be upgraded. Now, once again, you can do whatever you want to do. The world is your oyster when it comes to this game. However, there are certain things that don't need too much attention compared to others. And the whole time, I didn't realize that it really depends on the certain characters. See, I always just thought, oh, level up everything. That was always my consensus when it came to this game, was level up everything. So for Sarah, you can see I got to level 6, and I said, you know what, let me stop here. It's not really too necessary to keep going with this because Sarah doesn't have any crazy like normal bow attack. So when it comes to most bow characters, I'd argue you don't really need to level up their normal attack too much. I made this mistake here with Sarah. That's why I stopped at 6, because 6 was just a bit too far. Once again, you can do what you want here, but I went ahead and said, let me go ahead and stop there and focus more on her burst and her skill. And I just recently got Mona, and I realized that, okay, really all I really want to level up here is her ult. Nothing else really matters too much. Of course I can, but the ult is what I really want to focus on. Number 5. Now, I'm not even joking here. Not reading things carefully. Now, I'd say most people don't really take the time to read all the way through different things when it comes to video games in general. But when it comes to Genshin, I'm saying this because I missed so many different things when it comes to not only lore, but also when it comes to the regular things like weapons, artifacts, and characters. For example, the Emblem of Severed Fate, it gives you 20% energy recharge, it gives you more burst damage, it gives you a maximum 75% bonus damage. Not anyone else. As opposed to the Noblesse set, it gives all party members attack by 20%. Little subtle things like that, you may think in your head, oh, this artifact's gonna give my whole team this, or it's gonna do this. No, you gotta make sure you read carefully. Don't end up like me. Especially when it comes to weapons as well. Weapons will have you all kinds of twisted if you don't know exactly what they're doing for you. I ran around with the black sword on Ayaka for so long without even knowing that it actually heals you. I would see the heals pop up and I'd go, did I eat food or something? Why am I healing? It's also very important to read carefully because of refinements when it comes to weapons. You read that little blue fine print, and I'm not kidding either, I'm so serious. If you don't read carefully, you'll be using a weapon and not even realizing what it's doing for you. It is pretty clear most of the time, but I'll be honest, it's just better to be safe than sorry. Another great example is the Blizzard Strayer set. Now this says, when a character attacks an opponent affected by cryo, their crit rate is increased by 20%. Now you may say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, if you're a fool like me and you didn't read it carefully, what you might do is you might go ahead and add so much crit rate to your character to make sure you have a good ratio, but you don't realize you're getting a 20% increase on your crit rate and also up to 40% of the enemy is frozen. So you don't actually need to spend all that time and resources to get a good crit rate artifact when your artifacts are already building up your crit rate to begin with. Because you may not have known, but if you go to details, obviously you can see all your stats and whatnot, and you can see how much crit rate you have. But when it comes to this artifact, the Blizzard Strayer artifact, you actually will not be able to see the bonus crit rate that it offers, especially when a character is frozen. You don't see that here. That's all you see is your base crit rate that you have with your artifacts from main stats and from your weapon. So I can't stress enough how important it is to actually read carefully and see, how am I going to build this character, how am I going to do it, and what am I actually getting from this weapon or these artifacts. If you have a character where you're trying to get your skill back right away, you have to read the fine print. It says this can only occur once every 26 seconds. So you're not going to get your skill back immediately if you're trying to spam it. You have to wait 26 seconds for it to proc again. And also take note of this, the 26 seconds is highlighted in blue for this weapon, Sacrificial Bow. But if you go to something else like the Black Sword, the time is actually not highlighted. So once again, you need to read everything carefully. Don't be like me. And this doesn't just go for weapons and characters, this also goes for characters' talents as well, and constellations. A lot of characters' passives get overlooked plenty of times, especially by me. I always miss characters' passives. When you're going on an expedition in Inazuma, time consumed is reduced by 25%? Like what? When you use your Tenku Storm Call, your aimed shot charge times are decreased by 60%. You can shoot almost immediately. We all know this now, but of course with Bennett, he only goes up to 70%. You don't get the full HP. Less stamina consumption. Do you need ore? Do you need crystals? Ningguang has got you. She literally has an ore on her minimap for you to see. If you're like me and you don't read things carefully, you would never know that. Once again, there I was at AR 40 or 45, wondering why there's a random chili pepper on the ground all the time. Why is that there and what does it do? Also, one more thing as well to note, I had no idea you could convert different things into different pieces for so long. Had no idea. I was wondering how I could get more crystals for certain elements, and here it is. This whole segment allows you to convert different items to get more of items that you don't have. Let's say you have a bunch of pyro crystals, but you have no electro crystals. You can hit electro crystals and you can actually convert the pyro crystals into electro crystals. Now we could go on all day about little details, but one last thing I want to mention, because this is pretty important. I didn't realize this either. Big mistake. Certain characters actually have passives that allow you to get more items out of your crafting. So Xingqiu has 25% chance to refund a portion of the crafting materials used. When it comes to books, when it comes to weapon ascension material, you have, I'm sure there's more characters that I just don't have, but Mona and Ayaka also have passives as well that can help you get either double the product or a portion of what's been crafted. So all in all, when you're crafting things, just look out for the little symbol at the bottom right hand corner. You'll see this little glowing arrow thing, and make sure you just click on that and scroll up to the top to see which character can give you a benefit. That goes for cooking dishes as well. And number 6. Big mistake that I made playing this game was teleporting everywhere early on. Now don't get me wrong, we love fast travel, of course, but when it comes to Genshin, you really do want to take some time to explore, because there are plenty of puzzles, chests, enemies to fight, and all kinds of secrets to discover if you just take your time and walk from place to place. Not to mention there's a bunch of resources to pick up along the way, a lot of boxes to break, a lot of people to talk to, and a lot of world quests or side quests, and looky here, would you look at that? And exactly to my point, would you look at that? Dr. Livingstone is giving me a free something, not sure what it is. Oh, and this doesn't happen later into the game, but I had no idea you can actually mine trees. Like it's Minecraft. Well, I shouldn't say mine, but you know, break them down. You know what I meant. So all in all, my point there was just to make sure you explore. Don't teleport all the time. Take some time to explore. And also just take in the amazing scenery that this game has to offer. Now you can play how you want to play, but I just wouldn't recommend using your fragile resin until I'd say maybe about AR 45 or so. That's a really good place to start. Once you start getting into artifacts and you really want to do a lot of different things in the same day, that is the time to start using your fragile resin. Oh, he's gone. It's over. But those were some of the mistakes that I've made in my journey of playing Genshin. This was my first time making a video like one of these, so it might be kind of chalked a little bit, I'm not too sure. But I just hope that one day someone can watch this video and actually learn a few things from it. Now these were simply some of the mistakes that I made in Genshin. There are plenty of mistakes that can be made in the game, but these were just the ones that I made myself. If any of my viewers know any more mistakes that I made myself, I can go ahead and make a part 2 of this video. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope somebody can actually learn from this video in the future. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one.